I believe Ukraine has achieved steady progress in reforming its defense and security sector, and an aspect that I would like to mention is the fact that for a long time, obviously Ukraine and its security and defense forces concentrated on the challenges stemming from the situation in the eastern parts of the country. So it was for a long time back in 2014 that our assessment was that there was little progress in terms of reforming Ukraine's security and defense sector. But then this year, I'm very glad to note that Ukraine has been taking very serious steps in terms of reforming its defense and security sector. And as a matter of fact, recently Ukraine has produced a major guidance, policy guidance, to provide strategic direction to defense and security sector reform, which are the new national security strategy and the new military doctrine. I think developing and adopting those two key policy documents has been quite a success, especially for the National Security and Defense Council, who were coordinating the work on those two. And I believe those two documents should now provide a very clear guidance to reform plans that will be developed by the Ukrainian security institutions. The next step in defense and security sector in reform in Ukraine should be to develop specific reform plans, as I said, for the armed forces, for the security services, for the intelligence agencies. In other words, the complete security sector in Ukraine. But of course, reform strategies and reform plans, even if they are the best possible documents, will always remain on paper, however good concepts they might be, if implementation of those reform plans is not supported by rigorous implementation stemming from the political will, strong political will to transform the security sector, and perhaps in a way even more importantly, if it is not supported by rigorous financing. So if the reforms are not properly funded, those strategies and concepts that we have discussed there is a risk they may remain on paper. The third element, which is in my view central to the ultimate success of defense and security sector reform in Ukraine, is a very strong focus, an emphasis that the government should be placing on the roles which human factors play in implementing reforms. In other words, reforms, transformations will be implemented and by people. People are behind any success at implementing reforms in any country, not only in Ukraine. So we encourage as NATO, Ukraine, we encourage Ukraine, the Ukrainian authorities, to put an emphasis on developing security personnel, be it in the armed forces or in other security institutions, that are in charge of implementing reforms, that are in charge of turning all those concepts and strategies into practical implementation. Their skills will be central to Ukraine's ability to achieve establish a modern security sector able to defend, to provide for Ukraine's security. And perhaps the one more element that I would like to turn your attention to is the need to link reform plans in the Ministry of Defense, in the armed forces, in other security institutions, with transformation of the defense industry in Ukraine, which, as we know, belongs to one of the largest defense industries in the world, and which has a tremendous potential in terms of manufacturing various types of weaponry. So, all in all, concepts are there. They have been developed and formulated and adopted. It's already a success in itself. Reform strategies for the individual components of Ukraine's security sector should be the next step. Rigorous implementation of those reform strategies, properly funded implementation, and the people who will be central to how successfully Ukraine is going to implement defense and security sector reform.